Okay, so hi YouTube, this is my first video, just making a reply to some of the comments that were made on comments that I made on a video, Richard Dawkins, One Fact to Refute Creationism. This is regarding mutation, evolution, controversy or apparent controversy over whether it's a fact or not. Reply from Hatemonger NTBSF11. Reply to my previous comment about evolution being a fact. I've made a few of them. There's quite a lot of you. Look at the comments, you'll see them. His reply reads, "The fact of the matter is that the simple mechanics of mutation, the simple physics of it, prevent such a huge rate from even existing. It is completely and utterly physically impossible for this progression to occur in the natural world at the standard level of organization. Just on the basis of logic and reasoning, how do you account for this effect? Essentially, believing in this hypermutative process is akin to believing in the flying spaghetti monster orbiting the sun." To explain, evolution began with natural selection, but as a process, natural selection stretches far further back than most people tend to agree that it does, or most people usually think that it does. It doesn't just, it's not just restricted to life. Natural selection is a selection of stability, stable sets of molecules, or even very small pieces of matter, stable arrangements of any kind of energy, really. So the laws within the universe generally tend to favour stability over instability for obvious reasons. Stable things tend to last longer. It would have then obviously, with the beginning of life, started with the first self-replicating piece of DNA or what have you, perhaps even something else that evolved into DNA over time. But for argument's sake, let's just say DNA, because it's easier for me to explain anyway. So obviously this first replicating molecule would have obviously replicated, as you can imagine. Having no competitors on the Earth at the time, nothing else that self-replicated, it would have replicated at an exponential rate. And I think that sort of initial statement really sorts out, the odds of this, because your other comment, your support for evolution, blah 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 blah. Let's see. Your support of evolution would be first to agree that DNA is a hugely ornate and incomparably complex structure as this DNA, and its capability to evolve into even more complex structures is a foundational precept to evolutionary theory. If this cell, I'm assuming you're talking about DNA here, mutated at a rate of 1 instance per attosecond of 4.54 billion years this planet has existed, is not a sufficient length of time to move to the complexity found in a single earthworm. Unfortunately, Hatemonger, I'm actually talking about large numbers of this DNA, and so we're talking about large numbers of mutations happening every second. Also, the complexity is allowed to occur because natural selection keeps those mutations which are beneficial, in other words, which allow the DNA at the very simple level to multiply more effectively, and basically discards those designs which don't work, those mutations which don't work. So effectively what you've got is, and it's explained better in another video, I'll post a link maybe another time, but basically what you've got is, if you can imagine you played the lottery 100 times, and every time a right number came up, you got to keep it. And this was all for one draw. You had 100 tickets, and every time a good number came up, you got to keep it. And then each of these good numbers was added to one ticket that you had on the side, if you know what I mean. And you could kind of just cherry pick the numbers, which is basically what evolution is doing. It's cherry picking the good designs and just getting rid of the bad ones, basically those that don't work. So effectively, that kind of speeds the process along. It's a lot easier to win a lottery of really improbable numbers when you're keeping all the good designs, when you're keeping all the good ideas, and you're getting rid of the bad ones. That sort of skews statistics more in favour of evolution, and also the sheer numbers of organisms. If you look at the Cambrian explosion, if you've got any knowledge in geology, you'll know what I'm talking about. The Cambrian explosion, a period of evolution. I'm not really sure the exact dates of this, but basically the Cambrian explosion was a time in evolutionary history, in the planet's history, when there was a hell of a lot of life that just kind of seemed to explode. There was a period in geology, where we kind of jumped from very simple organisms to organisms of sort of greater complexity than we had before, and it's jumped because obviously there were high numbers, and because not all of these designs would have been great. We see that the number of organisms tends to decrease as we go further along the fossil record to more recent geological time. And a lot of these designs from the Cambrian period just disappeared. So what we see is in the fossil record, you look later, you'll see that only the designs that work actually exist, and the rest of them are kind of just being killed off basically because they weren't sufficient. They didn't have what it took to survive. So I mean that's my explanation of it. It's not very coherent, to be honest. I mean, generally speaking, I usually only leave comments, which is easier because you have time to think about what you have to say. Really, you can really cut down on maybe repeating yourself or nonsense. But that's my opinion of it anyway. So I hope that sort of cleared it up, and maybe you're clear on where I'm coming from. Look forward to hearing any of the comments, or maybe you can post a video yourself. This is a black screen. Reason being is because I generally like to keep my anonymity in these videos. I don't want people on this, knowing who I am or even remotely what I look like or where I'm from. So I like to keep my anonymity, although it might be a dead giveaway for some people who do know me. But never mind.